Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching the VSO Gun Channel and I hope that you all had a happy Thanksgiving. I know that we did and I hope that you had the same. That said, it's time for me to go back to work. There was an attack. It was an ideologically motivated attack that resulted in the loss of life. And a firearm was used to perpetrate that act. It's awful. Absolutely awful, and the justice system will work, although I don't believe that the justice system is really built to properly punish individuals of this particular ideology, because I think that creating a spectacle around that type of individual is exactly what the ideology wants. But that's a discussion for another day. That said, predictably, people are sensationalizing this tragedy for political gain. We knew it was going to happen. That's how these people always act. They hate you, they hate your rights, and they'll use any edge they can to try to attack those rights. And in this instance, what occurred was the use of a .357 Magnum revolver. And what they have done is latched on to the fact that it was a .357 Magnum, and they have distorted the facts around .357 Magnum to make it seem like it is the most heinous thing that exists. And what we're going to do in today's video is basically I'm going to walk you through the historical context of the .357's creation and what it is and what it is not. And I know that many of you guys are going to get this information implicitly, but I guarantee you that you know somebody that is going to read those headlines and read those vapid articles, because they're all the same. They've been called in. And I think that you guys need a resource to be able to refute that in an easy link drop capacity. And that's what the purpose of today's video is, after we hear a quick word from today's sponsor and I figure out who the heck is texting me. Today's video is brought to you by the Modern Gun School. This is an accredited online university. Whether you're looking to learn a few things or trying to break into a career in the firearms industry, this place is set up to be streamlined and work for you so that you don't have to burn a large quantity of money to get an education in the firearms arts. And that gives you some latitude to pursue other educational pursuits like, I don't know, a business degree on top of your firearms education. So go check them out at Modern Gun School and tell them that I sent you. Let's get into today's video. So what they're doing with .357 Magnum in this context is they're latching on to the fact that it's a Magnum chambering. It's literally in the name. The full name is .357 Smith & Wesson Magnum, but usually we drop the Smith & Wesson from the name, or at least most people who use the terms will do that. Sometimes you can add the full name in to make it seem like it's a more powerful cartridge. Like when we say 500 Magnum, I typically use 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, and sometimes that is done for the purposes of making it seem more than it is, more elaborate and stuff like that. But just know that if you read something that says .357 Smith & Wesson Magnum and .357 Magnum, they're the same caliber, right? But what they're doing is basically saying that this is a Magnum chambering, it's super duper overkill, it's super powerful, it's mega lethal and all that, and that's just simply not true. The one caveat that I will add is that all firearms are dangerous if you are shot with them. It is a major trauma-inducing event. Like, getting shot with anything is bad. And the fact that it's a Magnum handgun, the context of that needs to be understood, because when you look at the data of a .357's performance versus many in modern chamberings of normal, what I would call mainstream rounds, they kind of all sort of rank right in there. And when you use those terms outside of context for the purposes of sensationalizing, your low information folks out there will take it hook, line, and sinker and not really understand that context. So when we talk about the 357 Magnum and its creation context, it was the 1930s, and most of the time, the law enforcement of the day was carrying a 38 Special revolver. It's a 6-shooter revolver, and one of the great things about a 38 is that they're not super high pressure rounds. And because of that, you can, what I would say by today's context is underbuild the handguns. So you don't have to have super heavy frames. You can have these really lightweight handguns. And law enforcement of the day was running into problems with organized crime. And when you think about the capabilities of 38 Special to do things like barrier penetrate, particularly when we're talking about the car bodies of the 1930s and the glass, 38 Special leaves a lot to be desired in those specific areas. So they were looking to upscale that. At the same time, there was an interplay across the market with like 9mm, 45. Those semi-automatic handguns were coming out in higher capacities, like the 1911 of the day, for instance, 45 ACP round, comparable velocities, heavier bullets than the 38 Special. But that gun held 7 versus the 6. And so the argument really becomes, well, why are we continuing to use this? And one of the arguments that can be made for a wheel gun is that it is less ammo choosy because it isn't siphoning any of the explosive energy off. It's a purely mechanical mechanism. You're not siphoning that energy off to operate the slide or any of the other components. So it's less ammo choosy, and you can upload quite considerably because you're not worried about that operating system whatsoever. So what they did with the 38 Special is upscale it, called it 357 Magnum, and if you look at the two cartridges side by side, the case length on the 357 Magnum is longer so that it won't fit in a 38 Special. A lot of 357 guns that you buy today will be marked 357 Magnum and 38 Special because you can shoot the 38 Specials out of them in most contexts for practice because it's cheaper ammo, lower pressure, less recoil, all that sort of stuff. And it's a lot of fun to shoot 38 Special out of 357. But when we look at the data of what the 38 Special was putting out or is putting out today versus what the 357 puts out today, you can also take these data and knock 10% off of them for historically comparable data and what the ammunition was doing at the time of its creation. But when you compare that sort of data to what I would say mainstream cartridges are, like 45 ACP and 9mm are doing, we're not talking about a cartridge that is like leaps and bounds more powerful than those, what I would say, again, mainstream cartridges. And by mainstream, I'm not saying that the 357 isn't mainstream, but if you were to look at the number of 9mm rounds that are produced each year versus the number of 357 rounds that are produced every year, I think that they would probably be separated by an order of magnitude. And there's some energy being put out there. It's not like we're talking about something that's like twice as powerful as a 9mm or something like that. In fact, if you look at my state's game laws, you can hunt deer with pistols in my state. 357 Magnum is the minimum that you're allowed to take. It is the absolute minimum handgun cartridge that you can hunt deer legally in the state of Ohio with. Now, if we were talking about actually powerful handguns, in my mind, and this is subjective, those really powerful handguns, like actual Magnum handguns, sort of started the 44 Magnum. And there are chamberings above that, like the 454 Casull and the 500 Smith and the 460 and, you know, things like that. That's kind of where they start. In fact, if you were to go look at body armor ratings, level 2A, I suppose, but we don't really make level 2A body armor anymore. But level 2 body armor has a rating that covers 357. So you could say that the lowest rated body armor that exists still stops 357 Magnum, but it won't stop something like 44. or at least won't be rated to stop that. So I guess what I'm getting at here today is, by looking at the data in the historical context, yes, this is a Magnum cartridge, but it's pretty comparable to most of the rest of the stuff that's being used out there these days. There's a whole bunch of depthless news media pundits that are acting like this dude rolled in there with a self-propelled howitzer and started blowing people away. That's just not what happened. Is it a tragedy? Yes. Should justice be done? Yes. I'm not trying to minimize the loss of life or anything that occurred in this instance, but understand that this information is being used in this way as a weapon against the right to keep and bear arms. And when you look at any metric, what they're doing just does not represent reality. And now you're informed. If you didn't already, most of you probably knew all this already, but send it to your folks that need to see it. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you on another video here at the VSO Gun Channel.